Hello, Ender Sword here again, this time with a ladder game given to me by exioN's ToZu. I'm going to try and be casting some games, just ladders or clan matches or inter-clan practice or whatever seems neat out of a lot of exioN players now that I am part of that team. So a few have been given to me by exioN ToZu, and this is the first one I'm looking at. It's going to be against the Protoss player here, Vegeta. And his opponent, as I just mentioned, is going to be the Terran in the red shorts over here, ToZu. So they're already chatting up a storm there, so I guess they must have some familiarity with each other, just typing a lot there. I guess Vegeta being called a troll in the last game or something like that. Oracle pressure in a PvP. Whatever. A lot of people do get mad at the oracles in things now, but it's kind of a perfectly valid Protoss opening used against a lot of races now. There's ways to make it work. You can use them against Terran, Protoss, and Zerg and still get a lot of damage done. Sounds like Blizzard is even looking into the concept of increasing the speed on the oracle to increase their survivability so that you use them later on in the game as well. For the cost of the unit, I think they're seeing people making them early, and then when they eventually get caught or die, they just don't make another one, or they eventually just kind of get picked off by something small a little later on, and you just don't remake them, so you don't see as much use of things like Revelation later in the game. But it will be neat to see if they do go through with that. I don't know if I think it's the right way to go, but they want to experiment with some pretty small changes and see what's going on. In terms of the openings here so far, pretty standard stuff. Obviously, this is like textbook basic Protoss here. So far, throwing down the cybernetics core. A couple chrono boosts are being used on the Nexus here, and he's not going for the early unit. May wait until the cyber core is done and just go straight into a stalker. He is getting some scouting information, knows that neither gas is being taken at this point, so he's got some concept of what may be going on. Probably thinking with this type of opening that we're going for some sort of fast expansion here to the natural, and yeah, that is what is in fact going on. And the SCV is also able to get in and take a look around, see that, yeah, one gas is taken, immediately goes over and checks the other and sees that that one is not in fact going to be taken, and we get the reciprocal nexus going down here in the natural as well. They're still just talking a lot. Just keep chatting throughout the game here. So I don't know whether these guys just know each other very well, or they're just kind of in a chatty mood about what's going on, but just kind of throughout, oh, you're cool, that's so nice, even if you totally own me. Well, we'll see how that goes. I think it'll be probably a fairly good game. Both sides looking fairly on par with each other right now in terms of going for an economic game, which may gear towards a little bit longer. Going for both gases here is our Terran player, and a bunker is now completing behind the Nexus. See whether or not he can get the Marines actually into location in time. Do opt to just go right and attack the Stalker. It has to withdraw back, and with that almost finished, will he actually cancel this off, or will cancel it off instead of letting it complete. He only had the one gateway out there, and the cybernetics core was not done finishing the warp gate research, so that was going to take a lot of damage before he could actually get units out onto the field to defend it. And he didn't want to go for an immortal first with the robo done. If he had chrono boosted out an immortal, he could probably have taken the bunker out before it was going to take out his Nexus, but he wants to go for the warp gate here instead. You can see that the intention is for some sort of 4-gate attack, which will be based on this warp prism coming into our Terran base. He won't be able to see on this side of the map. A bunch more barracks being added on in addition to this factory here and we've got the reactor building on all our barracks right now. In terms of the unit count, there are only 6 Marines actually out on the map. So if a full warp in of 4 stalkers, in addition to maybe 2 being carried over, were to happen, then this could be a bit, and we will actually get 4 dropped in, could be a bit of a hard defense for our Terran player. We'll see what he does do. Getting 2 Widow Mines out, swapped out the reactor on that factory. See if he can pull those back in position to actually defend against this. If he does not get good placement on those, then he may be in a little bit of trouble, could end up losing a lot of workers here, as there's just not a lot of actual Marines out on the map to stop it. So warping in a few zealots, stalkers coming, the mothership core coming as well to assist with that, picking off 1 worker, going directly into the mineral line, right into the Terran SCVs, does pull them all after only losing a few. Mothership core just kind of going to work on the starport here. As everything is pulled, the Widow Mines do come back into place, getting some really big hits, but doing a lot of splash to his own troops as well. The SCVs are going to be crucial in this defense, seeing if he can pick off this starport and is able to deny that technology from going up. But these Widow Mines are going to be able to potentially zone out our Protoss player. Wants to destroy some of the production instead of going right for the SCVs, instead of only sending that 1 zealot out. Probably looking to actually bait out some of the Widow Mine fire. If he can get some splash back onto these units, then that could certainly create some damage amongst those SCVs. Pulling things out, trying to make sure that the Widow Mines actually only hit individual units, pulling just kind of 1 stalker, 1 zealot into the Widow Mine path, so that you don't get essentially the splash against your own forces. We do have a supply block here for our Terran player as well, trying to repair that barracks. Again, very zoned out by these Widow Mines. 1 does activate here again, but only hits on 1 target. So doing pretty good at spreading those around at this point. Back home, we do have the Nexus down, and SCV frantically trying to kill it or something like that, and continuing on with Hellion and Widow Mine production here. We do have an observer out in place, but as that is killed, again, he's going to lose the ability to take out the remaining Widow Mines as they do come out. Trying to force a big engagement here. The SCVs, a lot of them have gone down here, a lot at low life. Can he pick off another 1 or 2 more? In terms of just the worker unit count, down to only 18 SCVs, 19 now for our Terran player, but obviously he's going to have 2 sets of mules going with that, which are worth about 80 apiece. And if these Widow Mines are capable of preventing him from really pushing this attack, then that's certainly a great benefit to them. You got this one left with only 10 hit points left, but that one is certainly being a nuisance at this point. Another observer is coming out on the way to try and create problems for our Protoss player, getting another shot off to take out a stalker, and trying to coordinate his mining on the far side here so that he doesn't get those picked off while still continuing on with things. One of the biggest impacts here is just how many SCVs has had to been pulled. Finally, the push coming out to try and actually get rid of this threat once and for all. Some good Widow Mine hits coming and supporting that attack. He's just going to decide this attack is in fact over. I'm going to take the units that I can get away with, get out of here. That denied mining for so long. So many of those SCVs, despite being not only being outnumbered, was our Terran player, is he had to have them off and sitting with his army just to provide some meat shielding, essentially, against our Protoss player. So the Protoss player here in a massive economic lead after all of that, and now going up to Colossus technology as well. Terran realizing he has to get something done pretty quickly after that in order to buy himself some space and get back into this game, is going to be pushing across the map with the handful of units that he's got going here. The starport, of course, which we saw get denied a little earlier, is now being rebuilt, but at like 13 minutes, 30 seconds, that is now quite late, and he would love to have medevacs out to support these forces and keep them alive. The Widow Mines do come in and burrow. There is not actually an observer in... Yeah, there is an observer in sight, but it is taken out. So those Widow Mines are completely free to do what they want to, and we of course have another Colossus there. These fours caught in the Time Warp and being picked off by the Zealots as they try and get a full surround. A lot of really low health Zealots though, and they are going to clean this up, but not after the loss of a pretty expensive little group of units there. And of course these Widow Mines are still in location. As I said, the Colossus was in production, so was unable to get another observer, and this is all time that he wants to be spending on more Colossus production, or on or money, gas that he wants to be spending on other tech. He doesn't want to be constantly replacing up to like 3 observers so far. Zealots do come in here. One of them gets picked off. Just kind of a little sloppy there. He could have dealt with that with only the Stalkers without losing the Zealot. Not a huge deal, but that's just the type of little thing that you don't want to be doing when you're dealing with that. It just makes them so much more cost effective if they are forcing you to get that observer out, forcing you to lose a unit or two just to take them out. Big supply block here again by our Terran player. He was kind of forced into that earlier, but a bit of an unforced error here so far, again slowing down the medevac production. He really would like to have more than just this one out at this point, but going to be trying Widow Mine drop back here in the main of the Protoss player, but a cannon is already down. He's going to try and burrow under the sight of that cannon, and I think gets 1 worker kill, 2 worker kills with the Widow Mine. Certainly not what he was looking to do, but does actually even get away with it. And this medevac happens to spot that the Warp Prism was coming out to be annoying here again for our Protoss player. I don't know what those 2 SCVs in particular were looking to do. They're just going out for a walk or something like that. But does see that this army was in the middle of the map and potentially looking to make some sort of push against our Terran player here. Burrowing again up front to give him some early warning and early splash damage against the Protoss player that is now trying to move across the map. With 2 Colossus, there's really no answer out for these quite yet. Only the 1 Viking out here so far. I believe only 1 Viking on the map. Yeah, that is the case. Trying to come out with another, but again, because of this late starport, there's no reactor on this. He hasn't swapped that out to a reactor and hasn't built one. Just wants to get it out. The Warp Prism, which you saw earlier, is pretty easily shut down, but as the Widow Mines in front go down, there's nothing in this bunker at all. He's gonna force field any attempt at a defense off here, and just kind of take that down and then move back. Of course, again, causing the pull of all these SCVs that are no longer mining for that whole period of time. Just the economic damage that he's been causing throughout this entire game is really, really important. And I think a lot of that was just to buy space for this to go down. If he's being really aggressive, he knows that he's not going to get a big drop or anything across the map during that time. And has a good sense that, again, all these SCVs, just this entire period of time, not mining, not doing anything, so really harming his economy there for a very minimal commitment. All he did was move across the map and look threatening for a little bit and then go back home. Did lose the Warp Prism in kind of the counterplay up here. I don't think those were perfectly coordinated together maybe. Had he actually feigned an attack at the front, could have probably snuck something in the back there, but of course our Terran player had spotted that considerably earlier on in the game. In terms of the units lost there, just the sheer worker numbers killed by our Protoss player early on in the game is really what's making a difference here. But we can see that the supply count has caught up for the Terran player. He hasn't really lost a lot of units aside from that initial little group into here. Even in his defense, didn't lose a lot of actual units, only really lost a lot of the workers. But was able to actually kind of crawl back here through just pretty good macro and keeping it up. And of course, probably pretty cheap units out right now. Going into attack this third here, we get the overcharge on the, and a big flank here Colossus a little bit out of position, trying to pull back now, loses kind of a round of fighting. The hallucination on Colossus, good force fields on this ramp here, really zoning out a lot of the Terran army, preventing them from going against the Colossus directly, but all the ones remaining are fake. He's going to stim up in. The Vikings able to actually take down the real Colossus once he realized they weren't real, scanning and targeting down the ones that actually count. Zealots will come in to try and clean this up. Again, picking off another observer, just causing him to lose some gas a little later on, in that he's going to have to continue to remake those, delay the Colossus production, and so on. Moves in here to destroy this cannon, and there's not a lot of defense left here for our Protoss player. There's a great timing by our Terran in that he's attacking just before Storm is about to complete, so these High Templar were just kind of bricks in that, and there wasn't a lot of splash damage outside the couple of Colossus which got taken out early during that engagement. Does drive the Terran player back, although we've got a lot of reinforcements streaming across the map, including a bunch of key Hellbats, which are going to be great at holding off this largely Zealot-based defense. The main's now mined out completely for a Protoss player, but due to the delay in mining on the main of the Terran, that is not the case in his base. Going back against this third base, we've now got enough Vikings out compared to the number of Colossus that it should be easy to wipe them a little bit off the map. This is now a largely Zealot-based army. Good feedback down on one of those medevacs, taking it out and removing the energy from the other. But a big round of Zealot warp-ins here are going to be able to clear this up. The Colossus will go down quite quickly there, as I mentioned earlier, but the ground forces are ultimately cleaned out, and there's just no anti-air here. So at the end of that, instead of being able to clean out these Vikings, they're able to actually retreat back. The army will pull back to regroup, and our Protoss players actually once again taken the worker lead, starting to mine out his natural here as well, whereas our Protoss player got that a little natural a little later. Does still definitely have the minerals there. Just now establishing that third base as fully operational, but not yet mining gas here, whereas our Protoss player does actually only have one probe on each gas. I don't know whether he actually put them that way or whether a few were picked off when the Terran force did come in and try to fight that. A counterattack here by our Protoss player, at least threatening one at this point. I'm not sure whether this is the smart move at this point, or whether he's better off kind of leaning back and trying to gather up a bit more of an army, gather up a bit more splash damage here. There are a lot of Hellbats here now with the army, not a lot, but a little bit. Still using these SCVs in front, still pulling quite a few of them, just in turn to take the initial Zealot charges and provide some problems for him. Big storm going down on the Terran army. He has to scatter behind this, trying to split himself up as much as possible here, and kind of creating two lines of combat. The Zealots kind of coming in a little bit single file into the Bioforce, and they do eventually get taken out. We've only got the one medevac here, which has basically no energy left, so a bunch of pumpkin-looking Terran units. He does take out this pylon. I do think if the Protoss had taken maybe a little more time to get something like Colossus behind that, or just a little more bulk to what he had, may have been able to overrun that position a little better. Just wasn't quite enough storm damage to be able to actually push in onto the Terran side of the map at this point. Now establishing his fourth here, though, so it may be that aggression again was to try and kind of keep him occupied and zone him out while that did in fact occur. Solo on this medevac, if he could just target that down, but we do get the overcharge again going on the Nexus. Zealots kind of coming in, trying to get... There's just nothing behind it, is part of the problem. The Zealots are able to push it back and prevent them from standing and engaging, but there's not any damage, unfortunately, being done behind those Zealots at this point. So each time the Terran can just back up, pick a few off, back up, pick a few off, and they're not facing anything like splash damage from Colossus, and they weren't facing any storms or any threat like that at this point. So he's being reasonably cost efficient in terms of getting this back and keeping those little groups of units alive to fight again another day, and just doing an amazing job of keeping everything macroed up. We just get constant streams of units coming across the map. Big engagement here again as he tries to clear the army away from this 4th base, and will go directly for the Nexus here to take it down, and it does manage to actually clear that off. Not great angles for our Protoss player to be attacking through here, but a huge storm going down on our Terran player, and a little slow to react there to get out of it. But again, with all the Zealots actually gone, he can still continue along with this attack. You don't want to have this type of bio and just be facing it with these expensive Immortals and things like that. Able to push his attack on into the natural. I'm surprised at how well this is actually working. I don't think I've seen a full life bio unit basically in the entire game. He's just taxing the energy, and the medevac count still hurting from that early game, just never quite having enough. But there's not even that many Vikings left out on the map either. I feel that he could be going into something like Colossus, but there's just no money here. There's not enough gas. There's not enough anything for our Protoss player, not even producing any additional units at this point. Another round of Zealots kind of, they do get picked off there, not picked off, but canceled as the pylon falls, trying to get us around on these units, but just never actually able to get enough contact with the Terran army. Again, a lack of anti-air, just allowing these troops, these air troops, to get away, and despite being really low health, not actually able to ever clear them completely off the map in any of these engagements, so they just go and meet the next round of reinforcements. Certainly not a lot of energy here left, but at this point I really think the Terran player has turned the tide. Terran Imba, yeah, maybe. But huge comeback by ToZu in this game. He was down so far before. An engagement here. This may be the last stand for our Protoss player. He does still have a lot of Zealots here. If that can be taken out, I don't think he has the minerals to really replace that or deal with the Terran player at this point. A 4th base now firmly established for him, and largely what he's building is just mineral intensive stuff. But if he ever had to go into gas, huge bank of 3,000 gas that is available to him. So his mules are going to be able to support this economy pretty much indefinitely. The Zealots finally trying to get this around here, still getting caught in some of that Spire Splash. Huge splits by the Terran army, not allowing storms to do any harm to him this time. And again, with such low energy on the medevacs, they do live. Vegeta does tap out. Good game, well played. It certainly was. That was a huge deficit that ToZu came back from. I really thought, looking at that the initial drop was going to completely cripple him, and it certainly did for a long period of time. At some points, I think it was 17 SCVs to 37 probes at one point in the early game there, and that was without even having a starport out until about 13 minutes, 30 seconds into the game, and you could really feel that during the entire match, but was able to just claw his way back, get really good engagements, and just whittle down the Protoss army and keep them on a lowish number of bases throughout that, through constant attacking, pulling back, attacking, pulling back. So amazing comeback here by ToZu. Keep an eye out for more of these games. I do have a bunch more from ToZu, which I'm going to be going through, and hope to get a lot more from other exioN players that we can look at, get to know these guys, get to know their styles, and see some of their more interesting games that they've actually run into. Thanks for watching, guys.